My name is Jay Digital, and today we're going to go over easing in After Effects. Let's go. Jay Digital. Now, easing is one of those things where, at least in my journey, I had to dig to find out how to make my animations smoother. Usually, I would animate with a linear ease, which is no ease at all, really. It's just point one or point A to point B. That's it. But what we want to do to make things more natural is give them a little bit of ease. So like linear goes from point A to point B, just has no sense of speed whatsoever. So it just goes. There's no sense of gravity, no sense of slowing down or speeding up. It's just constant. With ease, you're able to go in and out of motion and make it a lot more realistic because we don't move our hands like this in real life. We have eases and certain calculations that the computers that we use um, to interpret that sort of motion. So I wanted to share that with you and to also better your animations in general. So let's go ahead and get it going. So here I have After Effects open. I wanted to open a new composition, just start from the get-go. I have two screens, so some of these windows will pop up over on my other screen, so just forgive me. I'm moving this over as it popped up. We're just going to do a 1920 by 1080 standard HD, and then we're gonna go ahead and add a text object. We either go new and then text, or we could just do Command T if you're on a Mac and click anywhere, and then let's just call it the tutorial title, easing. Interesting default font there. It just chooses whatever I've decided to use last. So we'll just do with the basic Helvetica for now and do a bold. And right now I have some tracking here, which I'll turn to, that's the size, turn to 0. The size is fine. I believe it's the leading is okay. But we're going to just use this little text object as an example. We're going to go to the align, if I have it here. Did a recent update, so a lot of my windows are not going to be here. So if you're missing a line, go ahead and go here on window and then go to align. It'll bring up this little window and then you could center these. One interesting thing about text is you do want to raise it up a little bit, mainly because the line of reading is not the same as the line of space and technicality. So you do want to bring it up a little bit, and then let's go ahead and do some easing. So we're going to position this from the far out left and make it come into the center here. So our ending position would be here. So we'll do that right. So this is showing at 5 seconds. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, get to the actual 1 second. Then we're going to go ahead and make our marker for the end position, then go back and move this guy. And then here is our linear animation. We'll now loop because I have the beginning and end or in and out points. If you press let me check. N is the end and B is the in. So B is in, end is out. N is out. Sorry. I haven't used those hotkeys in a minute, I guess. But so with this linear animation, it just doesn't do anything for me, honestly. It's pretty terrible. And a majority of these animations, like if you do rotation, for example, let's do rotation as well. We'll go ahead and hit U for all the current keyframes. We'll hit this to go to the most recent keyframe on this end of the spectrum. And then we will go back to rotation with the letter R, and then we're going to go ahead and start a keyframe on that end point, and then go to the beginning point and add another keyframe. Then we'll navigate to the, well actually I'll write it right here. We'll go ahead and give it a 180 rotation, a positive 180, and this is what it looks like. So there's that. That's giving us a pretty unique animation there. So we'll ease these two at a time. One thing about position is it has two axes, so you actually have to ease two different points of value. So in here, if I go like this, zoom in a little bit more so I can get more of the actual graph, and then I hit this little easy ease button, it will ease it, but it doesn't have any handles. For example, if we do the rotation instead, there's these little handles here that don't exist on position. The one way to fix that is to hit this little button right here. It'll separate the X and Y, which will give us those handlebar options. And this is the default ease amount. This is where we're at right now. And not really fond of that particular ease. I know there's a word for it, but I'm just not fond of it. What I'll do is, instead of doing 1/3 of the easing of this value, I'll go 2/3. So I'll actually do double the extremity, and then I'll try to find a similar value on the other side, since there's no reference points now that we've pulled that out there. That's about a 70% influence. So if we go ahead and undo that, we have that very interesting ease on the position. Now if we go back to the rotation, make the same extreme rotation or extreme ease, and we go here, I hold down shift, so if I just click and drag, it goes wherever it wants, but if I hold down shift, it stays straight. Okay, and then this center point is a pretty good indicator of where, if the ease is equal, but that's not always the center, so I wouldn't per se depend on that. But here we are at this animation. It's looking pretty good, And last but not least, the one thing I love to add on all my animations is motion blur. So if the default motion blur turn on and off toggle is here, that doesn't exactly make everything have motion blur. So if you want it to have motion blur after turning that on, and it's not visible here, you'll either have the track matte, or you'll have all the layer options where motion blur is. And then you just add it to that. And as you can see, there is some motion blur there as well. I'm going to give you another quick tip. If you're working in a pretty complex composition and you want all these little dots and lines to go away, you can hit Command-Shift-H to hide that. So that way you can look at your animation in its true form. I hope that helped. Please like this video if it did help you. Comment if you have something to say, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Remember your heart. Peace.